Hey everyone, welcome back to DataGan Academy. Today we are going to solve a real world tricky problem in Power BI. How do you calculate a running total when your dataset has missing dates? Let's dive in. So friends, this is our dataset in which we have three columns: date, product and sales. If you see into this date column, there are some dates missing into this. This is a very real scenario in the production datasets. You often get only transaction dates, not every calendar date. The problem here is if we simply use the default running total logic, it will only run over the available dates, not continuous dates, which can give misleading visuals or reports. Now we will see how we can solve this problem. Let us jump to the Power BI. This is Power BI desktop. Now we will import our file here. Import from the Excel, click on your file and then say open. Friends, we will solve this problem into three smart steps. First, we will create a date table. Then we will establish a relationship between the date table and the table from our sheet. And then we will build a DAX measure that gives us real-time running total even when the original data skips date. Firstly, I'll just change this sheet to some name. I'll call it as sales. Now let us create a date table. So I'll click on table view over here and then onto table tools and here as new table. Now if you see, it is asking me to create a measure over here. So what is a measure to create a date table? I'll say as date table as my variable name is equal to, I'll say calendar, not calendar table. You have to use calendar over here. Now in our sales table, if you see, there were the dates which were starting from 01 and then 11. So what is our minimum date? It is nothing but 01/01/2024 is the minimum date in our date table, in our data set, and maximum date is 11/01/2024. So here if you see onto calendar measure, we need to create a date from minimum of our date from the sales table to the maximum of date from our sales table. Let me show you here. If you get confused, I'll say min of sales date, comma, max of sales date, and then close. So calendar takes two arguments, which is one is minimum and the second one is maximum, which means start date and end date. Then we will press enter over here and see we got our minimum date as 1/1/24 to maximum as 11/1/24. This is how we create a date table. This is the first step to solve our problem. Now the second step is very important to create a relationship between two tables. So let me click on model view. So you see we have a sales table which is nothing but our data set and the date table what we have created. Now here I'll just establish a relationship between date of sales table from date of date table. So just drag this date and place it on date table. If you see what type of cardinality you want between the two tables to have the relationship. So I'm using one-to-one relationship over here, and I'll say save. We have established a relationship between sales date table and date table date column. So this is the second step, and it is very important to establish a relationship between two tables. Now let us go to the third step. Now we will create a new measure called as a running total. So let me give the name as a running total is equal to calculate. What is our expression? It is total sales, comma, into filter part. I will use filter function into that. Now I will use table, but I will use expression of all, and then I'll say date table. I'll explain you everything once I just finish the expression, comma, the expression part over here as date table of date should be less than or equal to max of date table date. I'll close this and I'll hit enter over here. Now I'll explain you once again how this DAX works line by line. So here a new measure called as running total. I have given the name is equal to, I have said calculate total sales. Now this total sales means we are modifying the filter context to change how sales is calculated, right? Comma, filter all date table. Now what this is doing, we remove all filters from date table so we can look across all the dates from the beginning. And then comma, date table date less than date table date. It's very simple. Don't get confused over here. I have written as date table. You can just name your table as date. That's it. Now this is the magic for each date in your visual. This formula pulls in all the dates before or equal to that day, giving us a cumulative total. So this is how your running total DAX calculates the sales even if the dates are missing from your original dataset. Now we will validate our running total measure. Let me pull a line chart over here and I'll pull the date column from date table on x-axis and I'll put running total on y-axis. Just I want day. I'll just filter this out and I got my line chart. So friends, if you see here, there are two different line charts. Now what I'm trying to show you according to our problem statement, the problem statement was we need to calculate the running total even if the dates are missing. So in first chart if you see, when dates were missing, the sales if you see, there is no smooth line where it is showing you how your sales are growing. It is like going up, coming down, going up, coming down. Why this is happening? Because there are missing values or missing dates from our data set. But when we created our own date, which was not having any issues with the dates or missing dates, and then we calculated running total, then if you see here how the line chart is behaving, which means even if the dates are missing in our original data set, still the date we can use from date table and calculate our running total. Stay tuned only on DataGAN Academy.